The air was heavy with the scent of rain-soaked jasmine as I sat on the steps of my childhood home, staring at the cracked pavement where I used to draw chalk murals with my sister, Chloe. My name is Emily Harper, and at 25, I believed I had carved out a life I could be proud of. I was a graphic designer at a small but ambitious firm in the city, living in a sunlit apartment filled with plants and sketches. Most importantly, I had Ryan Mitchell, my boyfriend of 2 years, whose easy laugh and steady presence made me feel like I could face anything. But life has a cruel way of unraveling the certainties you cling to, and for me, that unraveling began with a single, devastating text message. It was a Friday evening in late June, and I was curled up on my couch, a sketchpad balanced on my knees, working on a logo for a new client. My phone buzzed on the coffee table, and I reached for it, expecting a message from Ryan or perhaps a quip from my best friend, Sarah, who had a habit of sending me absurd memes at odd hours. Instead, the screen displayed a photo from an unknown number, a blurry image of Ryan, his arm draped around a woman, their faces inches apart, illuminated by the soft glow of what looked like a bar. My stomach twisted as I zoomed in, and there she was, Chloe, my younger sister, her wild curls unmistakable, her smile tinged with something I couldn't name. Below the photo, a single sentence, "You deserve to know." My hands trembled as I stared at the screen, my mind struggling to process the betrayal. Chloe was 22, a whirlwind of impulsiveness and unfulfilled dreams, a college dropout who flitted between fleeting passions, painting, poetry, a brief stint as a barista, never settling on anything long enough to call it her own. Growing up, we'd been inseparable, sharing whispered secrets under the covers, laughing until our sides ached. I was the responsible one, the one who studied hard and planned ahead, while Chloe was the dreamer, always chasing something just out of reach. But as we grew older, a distance crept between us. She became secretive, prone to disappearing for days, while I built a life of structure and ambition. Still, I never imagined she could hurt me like this, not with Ryan, the man I thought I'd marry. I dialed Ryan's number, my heart pounding. "Emily, what's wrong?" he answered, his voice warm but tinged with confusion. I could barely speak, my throat tight with anger and hurt. "I got a photo," I said, my voice shaking. "You and Chloe. Together." There was a pause, then a rush of words, defensive, disjointed. "It's not what you think, Em." I swear, it was just a moment, nothing serious. His excuses only deepened the wound. "A moment?" I snapped. "You're with my sister, Ryan." I hung up, tears burning my eyes, and called Chloe. No answer. I texted her, my fingers clumsy with rage. "How could you do this to me?" The message sat unanswered, the silence louder than any explanation. Sleep eluded me that night. I paced my apartment, replaying every interaction, every glance between Ryan and Chloe during family dinners at our parents' house. Had I missed the signs? Had they been sneaking around behind my back for weeks, months? By morning, I couldn't bear the questions any longer. I grabbed my keys and drove to our family home, a two-story colonial with white shutters and a sprawling oak tree in the front yard, its branches heavy with memories of childhood games. Chloe still lived there, unable to afford her own place, and I needed answers, face to face. The house was quiet when I arrived, the kind of quiet that feels like it's holding its breath. My mom, Diane, was in the kitchen, her hands busy with a cutting board, slicing carrots with rhythmic precision. She looked up as I entered, her smile fading when she saw my expression. "Emily, honey, what's wrong?" she asked, setting down the knife. Her voice was soft, but there was a wariness in her eyes, as if she sensed the storm I was carrying. "Where's Chloe?" I asked, my tone sharper than I intended. Mom's brow furrowed, but before she could respond, Chloe appeared in the doorway, her curls pulled into a messy bun, her frame swallowed by an oversized hoodie, one of Ryan's, I realized with a pang. Her eyes met mine, guarded but not defiant, and I felt a surge of anger mixed with something else, grief, maybe, for the sister I thought I knew. "We need to talk," I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. Chloe nodded, and we stepped onto the back porch, the screen door creaking shut behind us. The air was thick with the promise of rain, and the old wooden swing where we used to sit as kids swayed gently in the breeze. I didn't waste time. "How could you, Chloe?" "Ryan, of all people? My boyfriend?" My voice broke, and I hated how vulnerable I sounded. Chloe looked down, her fingers twisting the hem of the hoodie. "It's not what you think," she said softly, her words echoing Ryan's in a way that made my blood boil. "It just happened, Emily. I didn't plan it. Just happened." I snapped, stepping closer. "You don't accidentally betray your sister. You don't accidentally end up in a photo with your arm around her boyfriend." She flinched, and for a moment, I saw something in her eyes, guilt, yes, but also a flicker of something deeper, something urgent. She straightened, her jaw tightening. "You don't know everything," she said, her voice low. "This isn't just about Ryan. It's about Mom." The words stopped me cold, my anger momentarily eclipsed by confusion. "What does Mom have to do with this?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Chloe glanced back at the house, as if afraid Mom might overhear, then sat on the porch steps, gesturing for me to join her. I hesitated, my emotions a tangle of betrayal and curiosity, but something in her expression, raw, almost desperate, made me sit. "Ryan and we didn't mean for this to happen," she began, her voice steady but laced with regret. "It started a few months ago. He was here one weekend, helping Dad fix the garage door. You were at work, as usual, and we got to talking. He said you two were fighting a lot, that you were always busy, never had time for him." I opened my mouth to protest, but she held up a hand. "I'm not blaming you, Emily. I'm just explaining. We started talking more, texting sometimes, and I don't know, we clicked. But that's not the real story." "Then what is?" I asked, my patience thinning. Chloe took a deep breath, her eyes searching mine. "Ryan found something. He was in the study, looking for a tool, and he noticed a box tucked under the desk, old, dusty, like it hadn't been touched in years. He didn't think much of it, but he mentioned it to me later, and I got curious. I looked through it when Mom and Dad were out, and Emily, There's stuff in there Mom never told us about. Stuff that changes everything. My heart pounded, a mix of dread and disbelief. What kind of stuff? I asked. Chloe's voice dropped to a near whisper. Letters, photos, documents. There are letters from a man named Michael, talking about a life he and Mom had together, a life she walked away from. And there's a photo of her, pregnant, Emily, before you were born. The world seemed to tilt, the porch beneath me unsteady. Pregnant? I repeated, my voice hollow. But I'm the oldest. That doesn't make sense. Chloe nodded, her expression grim. Exactly. That's why I kept digging. I found more, a birth certificate, for a child Mom gave up. A girl. Our sister, Emily. Someone we never knew existed. I stared at her, my mind racing to reconcile this revelation with the mother I thought I knew. Mom was the anchor of our family, the one who baked cookies for school fundraisers, who tucked us in with bedtime stories, who always seemed to have everything under control. But I'd seen glimpses of something else, a sadness in her eyes, a faraway look when she thought no one was watching. I'd always assumed it was the weight of motherhood, of keeping our family together. Now, I wasn't so sure. You're lying, I said, but my voice lacked conviction. Chloe shook her head, tears welling in her eyes. I wish I was. I didn't want to believe it either. I confronted Mom about it, and she shut me down, told me to leave it alone. But I couldn't. Ryan's been helping me piece it together, that's why we got close. It wasn't about stealing him, Emily. It was about this. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to scream at her, to accuse her of fabricating this to justify her betrayal. But another part, a quieter, more insistent part, knew she was telling the truth. The porch felt too small, the air too thick. We need to talk to Mom, I said finally, standing. Chloe wiped her eyes and nodded, and we walked back inside, the screen door slamming shut behind us. Mom was still in the kitchen, but she'd stopped chopping vegetables. She stood by the sink, her hands gripping the counter, her face pale as if she'd sensed the confrontation coming. Mom, I said, my voice steadier than I felt, we know about the box in the study. About Michael. About the baby. Her eyes widened, and for a moment, I thought she might deny it. But then her shoulders sagged, and she sank into a chair, her hands covering her face. I never wanted you to find out, she whispered, her voice breaking. I thought I could protect you both. Protect us from what? I asked, sitting across from her. Chloe took the chair beside me, her presence a strange mix of ally and adversary. Mom took a shaky breath, her hands trembling as she clasped them together. Before I met your father, she began, I was a different person. I was young, barely 20, and in love with a man named Michael. He was an artist, full of passion and dreams, but he had a darkness, anger, addiction. We were together for 3 years, and I thought I could save him. But then I got pregnant. Her voice faltered, and she looked away, her eyes distant. I was terrified. Michael wasn't ready to be a father, and I could barely take care of myself. When I was 6 months pregnant, he left me. I was alone, broke, and scared. I made the hardest decision of my life, I gave her up. A little girl, born in a hospital in Chicago. I placed her with a family through a private adoption, thinking it was the only way to give her a good life. But not a day goes by that I don't think about her. The room was silent, the weight of her words settling over us like a fog. I felt a storm of emotions, anger at her secrecy, sadness for her pain, confusion about this sister I'd never known. Why didn't you tell us? Chloe asked, her voice small but steady. Mom's tears fell freely now. Because I was ashamed. I wanted to be the mother you deserved, not the broken girl who made mistakes. I buried that part of my life, locked it away in that box. I thought if I never spoke of it, it would stay in the past. But it didn't, I said, my voice gentle but firm. And now we know. Is there anything else you're hiding? Mom shook her head, her hands twisting in her lap. That's everything. The letters, the photos, they're all I have left of her. I kept them because I couldn't let her go completely. We sat there, the three of us, in the quiet of the kitchen, each grappling with the truth. I looked at Chloe, her face streaked with tears, and saw not just the sister who'd hurt me, but someone who'd been carrying a secret too heavy for one person to bear. I'm sorry, she said suddenly, her voice breaking. For Ryan, for not telling you sooner. I didn't know how. I nodded, my throat tight. I'm still hurt, I said honestly. But I understand, I think. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. Mom reached for our hands, her touch warm and trembling. I'm sorry, too, she said. For keeping this from you. I thought I was doing the right thing. The days that followed were a blur of emotions. I avoided Ryan's calls, unable to face him, and threw myself into work, hoping the distraction would dull the pain. But the truth about Mom lingered, a constant undercurrent. Chloe and I began talking more, tentative at first, then with the ease of our childhood. She told me about her struggles, her fear of never finding her place, her envy of my seemingly perfect life. I admitted my own fears, of losing control, of not being enough. It wasn't a quick fix, but it was a bridge back to each other. One evening, as we sat on the porch again, Chloe brought up something new. What if we try to find her, she said, her voice cautious but hopeful. Our sister. What if we try to find out who she is? The idea scared me, stirring up questions I wasn't sure I wanted answered. What if she didn't want to be found? What if she resented us, or Mom, for the life she'd been given? But I thought of Mom's pain, of the love she'd carried for a daughter she'd never known, and I nodded. Let's try, I said. We started small, combing through the box in the study. The letters from Michael were raw, filled with love and regret, but they offered few clues. The birth certificate listed the baby's name, Lila Marie, but no last name for the adoptive family. We contacted adoption agencies, searched online databases, even hired a private investigator with money we pooled from our savings. Every dead end felt like a blow, but Chloe's determination kept us going. She's out there, she'd say, her eyes bright with purpose. We'll find her. Mom was hesitant at first, afraid of disrupting Lila's life, but she gave us her blessing, sharing details she'd kept buried, dates, places, the name of the agency. As we searched, Mom opened up more, telling us about her life with Michael, her dreams of being a writer before life took her down a different path. I began to see her not just as my mother, but as a woman who'd loved and lost, who'd made impossible choices and carried their weight alone. Meanwhile, I couldn't avoid Ryan forever. He showed up at my apartment one night, his face drawn with remorse. Emily, please, let me explain, he said. I let him in, more out of exhaustion than forgiveness. He admitted to growing close to Chloe, drawn to her openness when he felt I was pulling away. It wasn't an affair, he insisted. We never crossed that line. But I should have told you, and I'm sorry. I believed him, but the trust was gone. I need time, I said, and he left, the door closing softly behind him. Breaking up with Ryan wasn't just about Chloe. I realized we'd been drifting apart for months, our lives moving in different directions. I'd been so focused on my career, on building a perfect future, that I'd stopped seeing him, really seeing him. Letting go hurt, but it also freed me to focus on what mattered, my family, myself. As the search for Lila continued, Chloe and I grew closer, our old bond rekindling. We spent evenings poring over records, laughing over childhood memories, crying over the pain we'd caused each other. One night, she confessed why she'd kept the secret so long. "I was scared you'd hate me," she said. "Not just for Ryan, but for digging up Mom's past. I thought I was protecting you." I hugged her, the first real hug in years, and felt the weight of our rift begin to lift. Months passed, and just when we thought we'd hit another dead end, the investigator called. He'd found a woman named Lila Marie Thompson, 30, living in Seattle, adopted through the same agency Mom had used. The details matched: birth date, hospital, even a faint scar Mom remembered on Lila's left hand. We stared at the photo he sent, a woman with Mom's eyes, our eyes, smiling at a farmer's market, unaware of the family searching for her. Telling Mom was the hardest part. She cried, a mix of joy and fear, clutching the photo like it was a lifeline. "What if she doesn't want to know me?" she whispered. Chloe and I held her, promising we'd face it together. We wrote Lila a letter, careful and honest, explaining who we were, who Mom was, and leaving the choice to her. Weeks of agonizing silence followed, each day a test of hope. Then, one crisp October morning, an email arrived. Lila wanted to meet. She was cautious, unsure, but curious about the family she'd never known. We arranged to fly to Seattle, the three of us, Mom, Chloe, and me, nervous but united. The meeting was at a small cafe, neutral ground, and when Lila walked in, I knew her instantly. She had Mom's quiet grace, Chloe's curls, my stubborn jaw. We talked for hours, tentative at first, then with a warmth that felt like coming home. Lila had a good life, a job as a teacher, a partner who loved her, but she'd always wondered about her roots. She wasn't angry, just grateful to know the truth. That day didn't erase the pain of Mom's past or the hurt between Chloe and me, but it was a beginning. Lila became part of our lives, slowly, through calls and visits, a thread weaving our family back together. Chloe found her footing, enrolling in art school, her passion reignited. I took a leap, starting my own design studio, embracing the uncertainty of a new path. And Mom, for the first time, seemed at peace, her secrets no longer a burden. Looking back, I see it all clearly. Chloe's betrayal broke my heart, but what she uncovered about Mom rebuilt our family. Life is a tapestry of mistakes and miracles, of choices that wound and truths that heal. My sister stole my boyfriend, but what she revealed about our mom showed me that family isn't just about the stories we tell, it's about the ones we uncover, together, and the courage to love through it all.